Okay, welcome back. We're going to be starting the next part of the demonstration video. In this part of the video, we're going to spend a much more amount of time on the interior contents and so on. My goal is to get you to thinking about the pattern for finding these solutions. And I may not fill in all the gaps because I need you to be thinking about how I'm doing it. I don't want to give you all the answers. I want you to start understanding the concepts so you can develop your own skill sets. But there are some very basic elements that we want to talk about. So as we start this portion of the video, what I want you to observe is that at the very beginning, we found our our right wall and our left wall simply by using the plan. The plan is a very accurate reference, so we're going to continue using that. Now, also remember, we're we're viewing this thing in a complex kind of two two metric way. In other words, we're finding its placement of items by the plan, and we're plotting them on the elevation. So you rather than get into a complicated description of juxtapositioning for these different things, we're going to just start with a method. And that method is pretty simple. If you put your mind's eye to it correctly, and you're standing in here, you are using two views. One view of this part of the section, but also the view as if you were looking at the plan this way. So every one of these elements will have placement here, and the plan gives us exactly those placements. So we're going to just start. I suggest that you look for and locate and mark the predominant and major vertical edges that are found on the plan. And what are we talking about? Well, wherever we have a corner, like is represented here, that's an edge. Guess what? That's an edge. There's an edge on this cabinetry. There's an edge on this column on this side or post on this side. There's another edge on this side. These are all just vertical lines. Okay, we'll get into some of this stuff in the background a little bit later, but let's spend some time on this so you understand what's going on here. So, as I mentioned, we know that everything in this section between here and here is the ground floor level. The second floor level is up here, so we're not going to mess around so much with the second floor level. We can look at that a little bit later, but for right now, let's keep it on the ground floor. So on the finished floor, we're going to look at the plan. We're going to use our triangle here, and we're going to slide it from right to left. And everywhere we encounter an edge or on the drawing, on the plan drawing below, we're going to make a vertical line. And then we'll come back and fill those lines in. So as I move from the very far left, the first set of lines we come to is these dashed lines right here. So those dashed lines are going to put a slight line, just a very light line, and I'm just going to mark it and move on. The next line I come to is an edge line of the cabinetry down below. So I'm going to mark that. Again, pretty light. As I move across the plan, nothing changing, nothing. Oh, wait, we got a wall opening here. There's an edge, so we're going to mark that. Then we're going to keep going to the left. Now, remember, we're on this side of the wall. We cannot see this stuff. Okay, I mean, we can see this one because it's open. We cannot see that. Nothing behind this wall is visible, so it's just a plane. It's an expansive wall that we will represent in the section as just that. All right, so moving across, we went from the opening, came and marked it. We're proceeding to go to the left, a little further. Oh, we come to that corner that I talked about earlier. We mark it. Now we're going to keep going. And we're working in this area. Like I said, we're not working back here yet, so don't worry about that. So we're coming away from that last wall corner, and we're coming across and coming across. Oh, there's a column. So we're going to put a post edge right there, and then we've got another edge at the other side of the column, and it's right there. And then I kind of going across. I don't see anything else really in the front just yet. We'll see a little bit over here. We'll get to that later. So we can focus our attention in this zone, and that's where we're going to do exactly. So we can kind of compartmentalize these elements. We're really talking about the walls in and around the kitchen area. And so what's going on with the kitchen area, I'm going to come down here, and right here towards the bottom of the sheet, we see cabinetry information. The first thing we see is that the base cabinet, that's the lower set of cabinets, is 36 inches high and 24 inches deep. So if I look at this plan, I see that there's the lower cabinet. Now I'm not looking at the dash line, but just the big cabinet down below, and there's the line. We already got it marked. And how deep is it? It's 2 feet, which is 24 inches. So we're on mark. It's already there. We see it right there. But how high is it? According to this, it's 36 inches, which is 3 feet high. So I'm going to come down to the floor. I'm going to mark it 3 feet. And I'm going to put a horizontal line across it right here. And that is the larger view of the cabinet that we're seeing in side view through that cross section. We're going to continue on here. I'm going to erase a little bit there. Now, let's go to the next slide. It says the countertop. It's got a countertop thickness that is 2 inches, and that thickness is in the total base. So we come back down and we take 2 inches and take it off the top. So it goes down from the top 2 inches, and there it is. Okay, so I've got the countertop shown, and I'm still showing the view of the side view of this cabinet. As we go down a little bit further, it says, oh wait, there's overhead cabinets. That's that dashed line we talked about. So we're going to come back to that now. The overhead cabinet is 30 inches nominal. Okay, and that means that's its height, but it's starting 18 inches above the countertop and extends up to the ceiling. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and mark 1'8", 1'6", or 18 inches off the top of the countertop. Okay, and we're just going to extend it up to the roof, up to the ceiling. Now, let's talk about the ceiling for just a minute. In most residential construction, the floor and the ceiling are framed by the same support members, meaning the floor joists that go and support the floor, they simply put the gypboard on the underside of it to create the ceiling. So that 12 inches of thickness that we've provided represents the top of the floor and the bottom of the ceiling element that occurs in that kitchen area. So it's the floor above the mezzanine or the loft, or it's the ceiling down below. And you've got that 12-inch thickness already drawn on there. So I'm going to leave that on there right now, but just make it a little easier to see. Okay, so there it is. That's the ceiling line. So our cabinetry went from the base cabinet. We got that in the very first piece. Then we went up 18 inches per the instructions here. So per the instructions, 18 above countertop and extends to the ceiling or the soffit line. We'll talk about that a little bit later also. Okay, that's the cross section of the cabinetry. Now there's a couple other little pieces here. I'm going to tell you that probably need to put them in. And it did tell us that the depth of the overhead cabinets are 12. So I'm checking. Yep, that's what they are because I took them off the plan. So it's kind of redundant information, but it's a good check. All right, so we've got the side view of the upper cabinet, the side view of the lower cabinet. How we did it, we marked it on the plan, found its placement. Just simply marked it. Then we found where it was on the plan and said, okay, there's the base. What are the base requirements? They're right there. And what's the overhead requirements? It's right there. So we're able to find the placement with the floor plan, and then we're allowed to find the heights with the description in the reference sheet. So let's move on. Now, what we see as we proceed, well, there's one other little note. I'm going to stop here for a minute so we don't have to come back. It says that there's a base and a toe kick of 4 inches high. So the toe kick, if you look at a piece of cabinetry, is that undercut at the bottom of the cabinet. And that's so when you're getting your coffee in the morning, you can kind of get right up back next to the cabinet and pour it without having to stand way back here. So that toe kick is typically 4 inches deep and 4 inches high. Now, it may vary in some custom homes, but by and large, I think if you went home, it'd be about what that is at home. So I'm going to mark that real quick, and that 4 inches is going to affect the cross section just a little bit. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to come back here and measure 4. Okay, so there's our cabinet. There's another little note that they put on here. Do they identify? Nope. Wait a minute. Nope. I think we're looking pretty good. Okay, so that's fine for now. So we have the cabinetry in the kitchen shown. Wasn't that complicated. Hopefully, if you have a question, you can go back and look at the video again. Find it in the plan, mark it, then describe it on the information sheet. Okay, so as we proceed and go to the left, and we're standing here, look at the plan, we see that it's pretty open. We can kind of see into the kitchen, but it doesn't take us long before we get to an edge of something. And since we're standing here looking this way, that edge is the beginning of a wall closure for the kitchen. So that wall will extend from the floor all the way to the ceiling. Okay, so what that means is that that is the edge of the wall that is kind of wrapping around the refrigerator, and we can't see the refrigerator. We can see a little bit of it, and we can put that in later. But the important thing is that we have shown now one edge of the wall. We haven't found the other edge, and we're going to do that in just a sec. But that closes off part of the kitchen. Next piece. So we've got the cabinet. We've got the overhead. The soffit thing we'll figure out in just a bit. Don't worry about the cabinets beyond just yet. We'll get those in a second. You can see just a little bit of a pop out for the fridge. Again, later. We'll figure that out later. We're working on major elements right now. But now you see here's the line that is provided that closes off the ceiling, or I mean the kitchen from other parts of the house. So we've got that located. Now that wall only has a certain thickness or width. That width is represented in the next line that we see here, right there at that corner, and we've already marked it. So we're going to go from the ceiling line all the way to the floor line again. So that's that. But we're not quite done yet. So one of the things that we need to do here is we need to recognize that if we go back to the floor plan, I'm going to turn this in the right orientation. We're going to observe that these posts that are identified here actually create part of the loft overhead. So that loft actually extends a little bit beyond the kitchen. We saw that with the dashed lines. So we know that there's a ceiling that extends over, or that's part of the floor system, over this hallway, this walkway that goes between this door and this door. So we're actually creating a hallway here. It wasn't necessarily discernible as such in the plan, but that's why the sections are giving us just that much more information. So we've got the wall, the cabinets, the opening at the kitchen. Then we have the closure wall at the kitchen. Then we have a hallway wall, a hallway opening, and it's bounded or closed off or ended at the posts. So I'm drawing in that first line of the post right there, and now I'm going to do the second line next to that. So that second line is actually the edge. So we found this edge, now we found this. That's the edge of the balcony above. So I can take this line up a bit, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to go too far. I'm just going to stop somewhere, maybe an inch or so above. Okay, so now let's go take a look at how we're doing in comparison. Well, let's see. I don't see this line. Oh, okay. Well, because our cross section was taken through here, looking this way, we're on the outside of this wall. We're not going to see the floor thickness anymore. So I can erase certain lines. I can erase this line here, this line, little line there. And now we start to see it starting to look more similar to what we have here. Now, it looks more complicated because the stuff beyond is filling in that information, but we're not worried about that now. Right here, right along this section of the plan, that's all that's going on. So we're looking pretty good. Now, so we've got the cabinets, got the kitchen, got the closure wall, got the hallway opening. So that's the hallway that will go all the way down. And what you're seeing there is the doorway way beyond. And what you're seeing here is the pantry doors and cabinets way beyond at the kitchen. What we're not going to see is anything beyond that. We're not necessarily going to see the stairs. We'll see one or two risers, and we'll see a railing. We're not going to see that washroom. It's way back behind it. Unless we develop X-ray vision, it's not there. So all we're doing is showing what's exposed. All right. Now, in our discussion a few minutes ago, we talked about the top plate. And what we said was that the top plate was 4 feet above the 4 feet above the finished floor. So as we look at the elements here, what we see is that there's a wall height that's 3'6" from the finished floor. So if we go on the second floor, we go 3'6" up. That's going to put us right there. That's the railing that keeps people from falling off the loft. The reason that's important is because of our reference here, we don't see the floor thickness here, because that would be represented on further in the sections beyond. But in this section, we can't see that. So we're standing here in the plan now, and we're looking this way. All that section stuff, all that width or thickness is all back behind this wall. So I can come in here. I'm going to leave the FF in there because it's a nice reference, and we'll get back to it in a little bit. But I want you to see that we're very, very close to this form right here and this form here. It's kind of a T shape. Okay, so here's our T shape. Okay, now I'm going to leave that there, and so we can see that. And we've got kind of a band represented here, so we're just going to leave that in place for now. So just leave that in, because that's what's on the guideline, on the comparable. But I think you should start to see some comparable pieces here, and we can continue on with our section drawing now. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the doors. Now, one of the things you should know is that we tried to use some pretty standard references here. But if we want to know how wide the door is, we can use that floor plan again. So I'm going to come way up here. I'm going to look at the plan. There's the door opening. You see it underneath right there. I'm going to line up the door opening. Now remember, not the jamb. The jamb's part of the wall. We want the door opening. So we're going to place that and bring that right next to that. Now my walls have shifted just a little bit because of the bad Xerox, but I'll deal with that a little later. Okay, so there is the jamb. I'm going to change it right here just a little bit so it shows a little better. And use the bottom jamb because they're lined up and I think it'll show better. Okay, now that's one side. Then this side is lined up with this one, so we're going to put him right here. Now, so there's one jamb, there's the other jamb. Let's put the top of the door in. How tall is the door? All door window heads, the head is the top of the door, are at 6 foot 8 inches. That's 80 inches if you want to look at it that way. But 6 foot 8 is pretty typical for a residential door. Can you get bigger ones? Yes, you can. But this little house doesn't really warrant it. So we're going to come down here. We're going to measure 6 foot 8 inches. And there it is. So I found my widths by lining it up with the doors on the plan view. And I took the height right off this thing. So there it is. It says right there on the first line, 6 foot 8 inches above finished floor. So that's the door. You see it inset. That's now coming back over to here. You start to see what it's doing. Oh yeah, there it's offset there. So that's the height. Now we're saying the door has a interior door frame or a style that's 4 inches. I'm just eyeballing it here for the rough out. And so you can see it. And so you can see what I'm putting on the drawing. The bottom wants to be a little bit higher. They call that the kick of the door. And the reason is people kick the door down low. And so they call it the kick of the door. So there we go. Now, you're looking at it and they go, well, all right, we got a little circle here and that's the doorknob and that's probably 36 inches up. So that's that. What's this dash line mean? I don't know what that means. Okay, that's another architectural symbol. That means that the thing that you're looking at has a hinge, that it swings open. So that door, when you see this symbol like this, that means the hinges are going towards the pointed side of the symbol. So these two things are going this way. That means the hinges are on this side. Not on this side, but on this side. So the hinges are here, here, and here. If you're using 3, we don't have to show them here. You just need to know that when we put the doorknob here, the hinges are going to be the opposite side. That's how doors work. So to do that, we basically find the middle of the door, that technical term I've used before, the crisscross. From corner to corner, we'll always find me the middle. And that becomes right there. Now, I go line, dot, line, dot, line. It's not a solid line. It's kind of almost like a center line. I don't know, it's just what it is. Okay, so got the door. Door's got some trim around it. What does it say about the door trim? Door trim, 2 inches, right there. And since the way the walls are laid out, it's very close to where they're at. So that door is good. That door is great. Okay, so the only thing missing is those little stray marks, these little kind of edges. That's kind of a representation of glass. You don't have to do that. Some people like to do it. I'm going to leave it off right now. This is a rough out. Maybe on your finished one you could do it. All right, so we've got kitchen cabinets. We got a kitchen opening. We've got a wall closure. We got a hallway with a door at the end of the hallway. And we got a post that's holding up the second floor. All of that was found from the floor plan and the reference sheet. Okay. Now, architects are doing this in their mind all the time. So they're not using this sheet. They're going, no, but that door is this and that. And so they've got all this in their head. But you as a designer, you may have to do field measurements. You may have to rely on this so that you know when you get back to do your base drawings what those heights are, because you didn't design the building. You're just working with the built building. So some of those things are important. Okay, now I'm going to do one other quick note, and that is the pantry here. Now, if we look back here at the back, you can see where the pantry is. And you can look at it and measure it and you go, it's about 5'6", maybe 5'8". Well, why do I want to measure it? Again, I'm going to just do a little light crisscross method on top of the plan, and that's going to get me to the middle. So, make sure I get some room to work here. Very light on that side. Very light on that side. Okay, there's my middle right there. Oops, kind of overshot a little bit. It's okay, it's a mock-up. All right, so that's the middle of that cabinet. The edge of it, if you look at the plan, is right lined up with the cabinet, the base cabinet. So there it is. Guess what? It has a toe kick also. Okay, now one of the things we talked about a couple of minutes ago was that there's a soffit line. That soffit line takes us down to 7 foot. So what we're going to do is in the kitchen, we're going to go below the ceiling line and we're going to come down 1 foot and put in a horizontal line. And that's going to be our soffit line inside the kitchen. And why do we have that? Well, sometimes cabinets get a little bit over tall and they can't get used. And there's other architectural features. So that's what you're seeing right here, this kind of blocky element. And it's coming across here and it wraps around the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up a couple lines here, and that'll spruce that up and it should work just fine. Okay, so far we're doing well. Now, there's other things that we can put on here, but I'm not going to go too much more in detail, except to say that now that I know where my cabinetry breaks up, I can do a quick breakup on this stuff right here. Now, remember that whole point about the hinges? That means there's the handles and there's the hinges. So hinges on this side, hinges on this side. So those cabinet doors, they open like this. So rather than get into measuring them off the plan or doing something, I'm just going to use the crisscross method. So I go from corner to corner, lightly, very lightly, so I can erase them later. That's going to give me two things. It's going to give me the middle this way and the middle this way, which is what I've got there. Okay, so those four elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the same as 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Okay, so I have one more set of things to find, and that is the midpoint. I'm just eyeballing that. You can probably measure it and be very precise, and that would be good. But for demonstration purposes, I am just doing the quick thing. All right, so I divided it up into 4 by using crisscross. Okay, crisscross gets to the middle. I can just draw lines to make it line up that way. Now, in order to put those hinge lines in, I have to go to the middle. And the easiest way is to just be consistent with where the lines are going to fall instead of flipping them around each time. Now, again, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm looking at it going, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. You may want to find something a little bit more comfortable to make it work for you, but it is what it is. And so let's just keep going here and we'll get those in. And then you can see really what I'm working on here. And we're almost done. Okay, so I'm going to put cabinet hinge handles here, and the up and the lower side right here. Not perfect, but I did them quickly. That drawing is the pantry. I should probably draw these lines just a little darker. There we go. There we go. All right, so that's those lines. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I'm keeping track of my time here, so I'm going to break the video at this point, come back in just a minute, and we'll continue on. So we'll see you very soon. Thank you.